is a presentation of the iRacing Esports Network.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing. Oh. Three, 2, 1, go.
Well, hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the iRacing IMSA Online Sports Car Championship. This one's going to be round number 5 from Belle, one of the only street circuits here on the iRacing service. And first off, I would like to apologize for the delay in the start to this broadcast. Things unfortunately don't go our way 100% of the time, but it's sometimes what we have to deal with on the live broadcasting side of things. I am Connery Maddock, and joining me in the commentary booth today is going to be the one, the only Will Vincent. The race is already underway. We've got about almost 10 minutes on the clock already. It's Eric Andre leading away for your prototype class that has spread out quite a bit at this moment in time. In GTEs, your current race leader is Pierre Lissant, with Jack Sedgwick following close behind, as well as Kazubon as well, challenging for those steps on the podium. And then you got to tackle back to GT3, where Dakota Fripp got himself to the race lead, with Philip Weber, Wim Stockmans as well inside of that top 3 in GTE, but in GT3. But well, this is Belle Isle. We don't actually often see it here on the iRacing Esports Network and on RaceSpot TV. It's an absolutely fantastic racing circuit, of course, primarily a home to the IndyCar racing side of things, and it's tight and it's very, very dangerous in terms of stepping out of line.
It is the track that has taken over the weekend after the Indy 500 from the Milwaukee Mile. I was once actually stranded at Detroit Airport, Connery, and alongside me on my kind of like, I don't know how you call it, your seats while you're trying to go into the plane, was Will Power and 2 other IndyCar drivers. But this track is hard, and this track will eat you alive if you make one mistake.
It must have certainly been a very interesting experience on the plane, but yes, this is basically as close as we'll get to a Monaco-style track here on the iRacing service, unless, of course, iRacing do decide to scan that particular track. But for now, this is the closest that we'll get, with the very, very close walls, very, very close to the racing line. Not much room for error at all in those Indy cars, and in these GT and prototypes, it is the same case as well. The current closest battle that you have out there on track is actually going to be down in GT3s, I believe. It's going to be for P number 3 between Wim Stockmans and Lawrence Van Aert there, down for P number 3 in GT3, P number 20 on the overall side of things. And just to have a little bit of a talk about this track, actually, Will, in terms of the overtaking opportunities, what are we going to expect throughout this race?
It's a street course, so therefore the track overtaking opportunities are limited automatically. However, you've got 2 big overtaking opportunities. I'm going to put the track up for you now on your screen, and you'll notice actually we can't even show the track on the screen, so we won't show that. The biggest one really is into the first kind of 4 corners in the track, Connery. After that, it is more twisty, it's more difficult. But these drivers, if they can get it done in the first 4 corners, then they've got the opportunity to make the move work. Of course, you got to remember, don't be like a pace car, don't crash.
Yeah, exactly. Also, we've also got the Belle for P number 2 in a GTE that we can't be forgetting about either. Jack Sedgwick. This is Thibaut Kazubon. This battle was split up a little bit by a prototype that had issues early on. That's Alessandro Dalladone trying to make his way up back through the field, and just see how close they get towards that outside walls. They get on towards the pit straight now, and it's a very, very short run indeed from the start finish line down in towards this first set of S's. The first corner, second corner, make sure you drag that out wide out towards the outside wall, and then it's quite a run down in towards turn number 3, and this is one of your main overtaking opportunities, but the number 2 of Kazubon is not going to be close enough down into there to make a move.
Yeah, it needs a gap right now. It's 4-5 times for a second between Sedgwick and Kazubon. Third place, second place, and off, but actually I will say that Sedgwick was mighty close to the wall there as he headed through turn number 5 there, Connery. Sedgwick is pushing hard.
Yeah, he really is, and you got to argue that the car behind does look a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more stable at this moment in time. Is Kazubon's car trying to give chase to Jack Sedgwick ahead of him, but this battle looks like it's just like Jack Sedgwick, the way he just attacks these curves and attacks these walls is scary at times with how close he's getting to them, and he's getting the maximum lap time out of it. It's just Kazubon's just waiting and lurking up behind, and if Sedgwick makes any mistake, goes even that little bit more aggressive on any of these corners, he could end up tapping the wall, he could end up losing momentum, and that's going to be Kazubon by.
Yeah, and behind as well, you got Tammy Akoli versus Joshua Anderson for 4th place in the track as well. Now, these guys will be aware as Kazubon and Sedgwick are going to go side by side, are they again on track? And actually, no, Kazubon's going to have to stay behind for the moment, but great battle going on for 2nd and 3rd, but also 4th and 5th, and we can't take that one away, Conrad, because Anderson and Nicoli are doing a fantastic job there in your GTE field, and all the action right now is in GTE.
Yeah, it definitely is. You have a couple of close pairs in GT3 as well for the race lead. Dakota Fripp and Philip Weber. Relatively close, but not close enough to be an exciting battle. You have Wim Stockmans and Lawrence Van Aert as well, and Van Aert has been pretty close on occasion, just trying to sense a move down the inside of his fellow AMG Mercedes ahead of him, but it's not going to work out right now. Looking for the momentum out of the second corner, but again, you just need that maximum exit off that corner to make anything out of this run down towards turn number 3, and unfortunately for Van Aert, it's not going to quite happen, but a better line into the corner does mean he gains a couple of tenths of a second on that corner alone, and he could set himself up for a move in the succeeding couple of corners, but this track is so tight that it's very difficult to even make your way down the inside.
It's tight, it's technical, it's narrow, and the one thing, of course, as well, Connery, is when the car ahead has a Racebot TV logo on its car, it's going to make life incredibly difficult for you. I've just noted Alexander Dalladone has fallen well down our timing and scoring scenes. He's had a big issue in the last minute or so.
Yeah, he's had it in the final sector. Just had a little bit of a slide through one of the right-handers, and did he make contact? He grazed the wall a little bit, and then he's decided to bring things down on towards the pit lane. He wasn't having the best of days anyway after an earlier incident, so he might even just come down. And no, he doesn't park the car. He just gets some repairs done, and off and away he goes. Yeah,
he does. And this track is a bit like Monaco, you know. You hit one wall, you get hit once, and that will completely wreck the chance of your race car being able to do the distance. And there is Dalladone coming on towards the pit road. It's got a unique pit road here as well at Belle Isle. It's not like what you see at most racetracks.
Yeah, very, very interesting indeed. With the, especially with your pit lane entry, can just be a little bit tighter than usual. And of course, coming off of pit lane as well, you actually come back onto the track during that turn 1, turn 2 S's, albeit very, very much offline. So it's not a very, very dangerous pit exit at all. It's just unique in that it comes in terms of the second corner instead of before the first corner. But actually, this battle for P number 2 and GTE has become a battle for P number 1, 2, and 3, as both Sedgwick and Kazubon have tracked down your leader, Pierre Lissant. And as they come across the line, we'll actually have a look at the lap times. A 1:26.2 by Lissant that last time, by a 1:25.9, and another 1:25.9 by Kazubon. So P2, P3, both catching your GTE race leader. Down in towards turn number 3 they will go. Still no opportunities then. As they make their way down into there, but it's going to be a case of when we get into the later stages of this race, Will, it's going to be a case of how patient is the driver going to be, because this is a track where you can really get stuck behind the slower driver, and as it's a track that doesn't really have a lot of overtaking opportunities, some drivers can get a little bit frustrated behind the wheel, and I might just decide to send it.
Yeah, so having a look at Cedric right now, he has gained about 1.3 seconds over Pierre Lassant. As actually, I've just seen a move there. I think Johan Harv has got himself past an Eric Andre. And Eric Andre on pit road early.
This, just looking at the times coming down with 28 minutes remaining of a 45-minute race. So it seems early, but still about right for Prototype as he decides to hit his box. No damage on that race clutch LMP2 car, well, Daytona Prototype car. As he, very, very quick stop, gets the fuel to the end. No tires taken, of course, in this series with how short the races are. Back out on the track, albeit behind the Ford GT of Felipe Pavia there. So race leader pitting in early, and that is everyone. Well, that's the first pitter in the Prototypes, apart from Alessandro Deladone that had to come in for damage repairs. So early for Eric Andre, but I think this is more strategic than anything.
Yeah, and the thing about this as well is that now he's got traffic ahead of him as well, because, I mean, this LMP car is going to hold, he's cost him about 2.5 seconds already there, Conway, and he's going to cost him another second unless, and Eric Andre finally finds a way past. I mean, that's 2.5, 3 seconds immediately that an Eric Andre has lost, and that will be a difference maker in terms of the pit stop. Johan Harf now all of a sudden has a bit of an advantage.
Yeah, he did have a, well, Eric Andre did have about a 6.3 second gap coming across the line before he came down on towards the lane. So I think he still should be fine in this situation as long as he doesn't get trapped behind the next bits of lap traffic, which is going to be Carlos Oliver Pascual in the GT3 machine. He's also got a bit of his own class to lap as well in the form of Benjamin Morton, as that GT3 car will actually dive down on towards the lane, so it won't be a factor. Thankfully for an Eric Andre, he can continue on his merry way. But the battle for P number 1, 2, and 3 then in GTE, that one is still pretty close as they head their way across the line. It's one of these battles, Will, that it's close, but it's not close enough to have any fireworks just yet. Yeah,
but Johan Harf has had himself a miserable lap as well, because he was stuck behind traffic. And the thing about a road course in terms of the IMSA Sportscar Championship is traffic hurts you every single lap, and Johan Harf, I would estimate, he lost 2 seconds at last lap. We'll get an indication as they come past the start-finish line. Also worth noting, the top 3 drivers in GTE now separated by just 1.4 seconds, and your battle for P1, P2 in GT3, well, that one is down to 4 tenths.
Yes, indeed it is. So all the action in GTE then, maybe for GT3 when it comes to the race lead. Dakota Fripp versus Philip Weber. 0.2 of a second was the advantage to the second place man that last time by. Mercedes-AMG versus that Audi of Philip Weber. Really, really tracking down your race leader at this moment in time. But we'll have to see what happens in terms of the passing opportunities that he'll have to try to take by the horns, especially around a circuit such as this, as we're just pretty much waiting right now for these battles to show some form of spark, some form of fire to get us really, really hyped up. But there's actually going to be a pass here for position in your prototypes, because this is an Eric Andre on Benjamin Morton. Of course, an Eric Andre having come down on towards pit lane over the last couple of laps. Morton won't actually make it easy for him, and he's absolutely entitled to try and defend position here. He's battling for position. It's not a blue flag situation, so why not fight?
Well, and this is one of those things as well, in terms of an Eric Andre. Pitting early when the field ahead of you hasn't pitted might make your life a little bit more difficult. And Eric Andre has been stuck behind now Benjamin Morton the entire lap here, almost, Connery. And I don't see a way for him past, because Morton actually has a bit of draft from a GT3 car ahead.
Yeah, and that could be a big factor if that GT3 car just stacks up the two prototypes behind. We still haven't had anyone from the prototype field dive down towards the lane just yet. And Eric Andre around the outside makes the inside for the right-hander, though. But it's going to be a drag race off the corner. The traction will go to Benjamin Morton, so the fight will continue down towards the next corner. And Eric Andre finally makes his way through in towards the final sector, and finally makes his way through on that GT3 machine as well. But he had to really work for it.
Yeah, as Michael Cato's on pit road, Benjamin Morton also decides to come on towards pit road as well. And actually, that's the best thing sometimes, Connery. When you've just been passed and you buy a pit entry, just come in.
Yeah, exactly. That's just the sensible option, as those prototypes will get their pit service done absolutely no problem. And it'll be very interesting to see when Johan Half pits and why he'll come out in relation to Eric Andre, because Andre, again, as I said, had a 6.3 second gap before the pit stop phase began. I have a feeling that is going to be a little bit less once Johan Half decides to make his way in. He does have a little bit of traffic to contend with ahead, so it might be best advised here coming through the final sector just to actually dive it down towards the lane instead of getting stuck behind these GT cars.
Yeah, indeed so, and that's always a strategic decision. That's where the pit crews, spotters will all come into play as well, but he doesn't go on towards pit road. He's going to stay out and do another lap. We are way past halfway distance in this event now, but Johan Half is going to remain. The last time by, 125.560, and Eric Andre, 125.9. So Johan Half is still leading the battle here, Connery, by about half a second that last time by, though he's got more traffic as he goes around Belle again.
It's just a case of whether the traffic will be more compliant with him than it was with an Eric Andre, as that GT car will get out of the way. I think we've had a little bit of trouble with the 24. We have 24 spun just after one of the, I believe that is turn number 3 there. So we'll get to have a look what happened. Just a huge solo incident there for Zachary LeVay. Gets on the brakes for the corner, tries to turn, car swaps ends and heavy into that concrete wall on the outside.
Yeah, and there is a replay from Zachary LeVay, and just loses it. I was going to see so on your screen right about now. But Connery, the thing is as well, oh my God, that's a hard hit. It's right the rear end of that car, smashing the tyre barriers. And that's the thing about the street tracks. A lot of drivers are not used to driving street tracks like Belle Isle, because this track is like a faster Monaco, let's be honest.
Yeah, it kind of is like that, and you don't have the runoffs to use. So if you do make an error in your braking and you brake a little bit too late, then there's not a lot of room to trying to recover that sort of situation. You're either going to head into a tire barrier or a concrete wall, or at least going to get major damage on the side of your car. So it's a track that really does punish those sorts of mistakes on the brakes down in towards some of these heavy braking zones. But having a look right now at the battle for P number 1, 2, 3 in GTE. This one is still the status quo. Pierre Lasson leading the way from Jack Sedgwick, who's been working to try and get onto that back bumper of the Ferrari ahead of him, but not exactly successful right now. So Ford GT versus Ferrari right at the front of the field, and Thibaut Casabon in that other Ferrari as well. And P number 3 just actually losing track a little bit of your two race-leading GTE machines at this moment in time. But it looks like these GTE leaders, are going to get a little bit held up here behind the GT3 machine of Valentin Kirsch, the driver of number 28, as they get stacked up outside the corner. But the GT3 car will take the outside line and let those two through, and that's admirable driving.
Yeah, and also in terms of G3, Connery, the battle still goes on between Dakota Fripp and Philip Weber. Now, Weber has only been faster one lap of the last 3. However, the gap is currently 6 tenths of a second as they come past the start-finish line. Be interesting to see what Weber's doing, because he looks a lot closer, and the gap is about, well, nothing. 8/1000ths of a second right now. So for Philip Weber, pit stops will be crucial for him.
Yeah, very, very much so. He can probably just maybe try to drop himself, have a look at the live timing map that comes with some of these third-party software and just have a look, okay, where's a gap I can drop back into that I won't be harassed by prototypes immediately after coming off of the pit lane. So that's one strategy you could do. And, well, in terms of the tires, there isn't much of an undercut potential in terms of the fresher rubber, since you don't take the tires in this short of a race in the GT3 machine. So your options are limited on that particular front, but it could just be a case of Weber just getting in some clear air after a pit stop and just trying to put in those qualifying laps to try and challenge Fripp when he decides to come down on towards the lane. But speaking of cars coming down into pit, it's Tammy Ackley, the driver of the number 10, deciding that now is a pretty good time to pit in that GTE field. He was the driver in the battle with Joshua Anderson, so it'll be very interesting to see where he comes out in relation to him once he comes down on towards the lane. But the thing is, we still have Johan Harf still out there, lap number 20 on his stint, going very, very deep into this race. So is David Haynes as well. RaceSpot TV's own David Haynes out there in P number 2. Did qualify P number 4, of course. And we've also got that GTE battle of Lissant, Cedric, and Kazumon to be worried about as well. So I'm very surprised that Johan Harf is going so deep into this race on the fuel, whereas Eric Andre did decide to go for that short stop. So there's a little bit of battle in terms of the strategies here, but I'm not sure which one is working out better at this moment in time. At least initially, Eric Andre did get caught behind traffic coming off the lane, but he has found a little bit of clear air since, and has been setting the fastest laps of anyone in that prototype field. So I think the longer that Johan Haas stays out now, the less he'll gain from doing this strategy. It does seem that we have lost the one, the only Will Vincent there, so apologise for that one. You are here.
Yeah, you're in half. We're just talking about him, actually. Just have a look at his last lap time. It's a 123.9. Compare that to a 123.6 for an Eric Andre. And actually, an Eric Andre is going faster right now. So we're looking at a race clutch 1-2 by the looks of it. The thing that I'm worried about is where's David Haynes going to come into? Because he's going throwing at both of them. He looks like he might get a podium here, Connery, but I don't know exactly where he's going to feed out.
Definitely behind Eric Andre, since he's like right on the back of them as Haynes goes for a power slide through the right-hander right in front of Eric Andre, trying to chase down the race win on his strategy. Haynes not so much, since he hasn't come down on towards the lane just yet. Haynes can be struggling through the latter part of the first sector out onto the back straight now. I think Eric Andre will be done pretty quickly with this one, side by side, then down towards the braking zone, and Andre on the inside will get that pass done. Simply done there from Andre. And Haynes now, I think his best bet is to come down on towards the lane and get his service done for the end of the race. But in terms of Johan Harf, I don't know what the plan is here. It's either just it's probably just run that fuel tank just completely dry at this point in time and just see where it puts you.
Stands, Connery, I think that an Eric Andre has won this motor race because Johan Harf is losing lap time, lap on lap right now, to an Eric Andre. Last time by, Johan Harf was faster, but I think that actually an Eric Andre has the advantage. And David Haynes, well, that last lap was just miserable by him. I think third place would be the best he can get in this race, but for him, that might still be an accomplishment.
Oh, we just almost had a battle for P1 in GTE there, but Jack Sedgwick did mess up his exit out of turn number 2, so that opportunity to sneak his way down the inside of turn number 3 actually might still be on, because the prototype has gotten itself involved here with Michael Cado. So Cedric side by side with Lissant, your GTE race leader, through turn number 4, up towards turn number 5. There's a little bit of contact down towards turn number 5, and Cedric will just have to stay behind for now. He sensed the opportunity and tried to take it, but unfortunately it's gotten away for him, and down the back straight now he will have the draft down towards the heavy braking zone, but I don't think he's just close enough just yet, and that could have been Jack Cedric's best opportunity, at least on this first stint, to make his way by. But I'm just having a look right now, because down in GT3 Philip Weber has actually come down on towards the lane. Dakota Fripp has stayed out, but just saying that, Dakota Fripp down towards the lane, instant reply to Philip Weber, and now will Dakota Fripp come back behind Weber or ahead of Weber? That is the question that we have to be asking here. The pit stop time for Weber was 12 seconds. Let's see what the time is for Dakota Fripp. It's around about the same, if not a little bit less, so I think he'll still be ahead here once he comes out between those green cones. Philip Weber actually down the back, the pit straight right now, down past pit entry. Fripp still on the lane between those green cones. I think Fripp has this one and will retain the race lead in your GT3 field quite comfortably, as well as he heads on the run down towards turn number 3. But looking back at Lissant and Cedric, this is the battle that has shown so much promise in this race. And guess what? Johan Harth has come down on towards the lane, and look at how close he is with an Eric Andre. Will.
It is mighty close. It is 2/10 of a second as they come off of pit road. 7.6 second pit stop there for Johan Harth, compared to a 9.2 second pit stop for an Eric Andre. It was always going to be close there. Two race clutch drivers separated now by 4/10 of a second. Connor, what's going on?
That was a big slide there for Andre coming out of the final corner. I'm very surprised they held that. Lost a couple of tenths of a second over his teammate and his competitor for the race win. So that's not exactly the ideal situation for Andre, but he has shown that in clear air he has the pace advantage over Harth. So he has to really use that now to bring him back up into a position where he can challenge. The lap traffic may actually be a factor once again in this one, as it's Kirsch in that GT3 machine, which will hold up your overall race leader. Andre looking for an opportunity down in towards turn number 5, but that will go begging once again. Lissant and Anderson in GTE, they have decided to pit. Jack Cedric will stay out here, and we've had Kazubon come down a little bit earlier, so I'm interested to see where Lissant comes out in relation to the driver of the number 2. Kazubon just passing pit entry right now. Lissant passing the green cones. I think he's got this one pretty comfortably here, but I think that's not the main battle here. That's going to be between Lissant and Cedric once Cedric gets his service done. So we might potentially have all 3 battles for the race lead here, Will.
Yeah. Also, it's worth noting, Connery, of course, that Race Clutch were a team that had pole position for the iRacing Petit Le Mans a week ago, as Josh Anderson goes very loose through turn number 1. But Race Clutch were a team that, you know, they were almost on the mission to get rid of Pure Racing Team and Radicals Online at the Petit Le Mans. They got close, but not quite close enough. They had pole position, could not convert that one into a race win. But behind Josh Anderson right now in that
Half
number
a bit
11
wide.
machine. Go on, a half is wide. Yeah, you're right.
Just a little bit wide through the penultimate through one of the right-handers there, down in towards the left now, down towards the end of the lap. Pressure being piled on by Andre in this situation. Out of the final corner, they will out of the corner before the back straight. As I'm trying to get my bearings here. This is a very, very new racetrack for me as they come towards the second half of the lap right now. Andre trying to position himself for a slingshot down the inside, but will back out in that situation. Actually, Jack Cedric now is down on towards the lane. So from your GTE race leader, where's he going to come out in terms of where Lissant is? And that is going to be very, very comfortably ahead. So Cedric has got a buffer.
Yeah, and the gap is going to be at least 1.5, 1.6 seconds there between Jack Cedric and Pierre Lissant. So UK and Ireland, and also iRacing versus the world right now, as Jack Cedric will go ahead. As the gap is actually up to 2 seconds in the Supercube iRacing car as they head themselves through turn 4 and 5 there, Connery.
On half is going to get held up behind the GTE machine, and here comes an Eric Andre. It has to be around the outside, coming down in towards turn number 3. So battle for your overall race lead. Half so late on the brake, struggling to get that car stopped. Slides through the apex of the corner, up and under. Then from an Eric Andre, takes the battle down towards P number 4, just squeaks his way ahead. A little bit of a tap on the back bumper. Half will make his way back down the inside then for the next left. Fantastic fighting here between the two teammates, and Andre, I think he's managed to get himself ahead, but Half were battling all the way down the back straight here, and this battle is not over for your race leads. Defensive line taken by Andre, taking the inside for the right-hander. Half trying to sling it around there, but just, he's able to hold it as well, and he'll have the inside line for the preceding left. A little bit of contact between the two teammates, and Half is back through. Just incredible stuff there, Will.
That is two teammates running against each other that somehow avoid what could be disaster for them. These guys were so close together. I have no idea here. I know Andre, yeah, he got himself the race lead eventually, but yeah, Johan Half was able to get himself back ahead. Connery, I don't know how these two drivers did that there, because as rivals, that was close. As teammates, that was, oh my beeping word.
What did we set up at the start of this broadcast? Well, it's very difficult to overtake here at Belle. It's very difficult to go side by side, but for Raceclets, it seems like it's going to be absolutely no problems at all. They can go side by side whenever the hell they want, and whenever the hell they need to as well. And Eric Andre has to do it all again over his teammate, and the thing is, he only has a couple of minutes to work with, 7 minutes and a half, which to my math looks like about 5.5 laps. But look further down the road, Will. There is a lot of GT traffic.
And there's also a lot of GT traffic that is battling for position right now. We've got ourselves Fabon Casabon in a battle with Ricardo Castellado, and of course Lado is always good in the latter stages of this event. Behind Lado, well, you got yourself the driver of Josh Anderson right now in the number 11 machine. Taking number 3, 4, and 5 in GTE, Connery. They are battling hard. For GT3 field, they have calmed down. The only real battle we've got is going on for your race lead, and that is about 8 tenths of a second between the driver of Philip and also Dakota Fripp right now. Philip Weber in second place, Dakota Fripp 8 tenths of a second ahead.
Half has caught this traffic in the worst place possible. Once again, it's going to be deja vu and a chance for Andre. Oh my god, this is going to be a complete mess. They'll look to make it 3 wide with the lap traffic. Does Johan Half down the inside? Andre has to be so patient down in towards turn number 3, but finally tries to decide to file his way through. All of these GT3 cars are actually battling for position here. There's a GTE in the mix as well, just to spice things up a little bit, but that was just almost such a scary moment on the run down towards 3. I don't know how they survived.
And also there's more issues that was going on behind them as well there, Connery. Couldn't quite see it, but one of the race clutch cars, I believe in GTE, had themselves a couple of issues going on right now. But yeah, you're right. It is still very close up front, and Eric Andre is 4 tenths of a second behind, but there's more traffic ahead.
Yes, there is, and that's going to be either Johan Hart's worst nightmare or his best gift in terms of racing, depending on how it falls and how he catches this traffic. He makes his way down the inside of 1 and actually puts that GT car between himself and his teammate, but Andre is not having any of it, just so aggressive with the lap traffic. We'll head our way across the line with about 5 minutes and 20 seconds to go. 4 laps to go in this battle for the race lead in your prototype field, and once again Half, he's not having the best of luck with the traffic. traffic coming through to the turn number 1 and 2 section, but this time he has enough of a buffer over Andre so that it doesn't matter all that much. But so late on the brakes goes Andre, trying to close that gap. This one's just gonna calm down just for a moment before we set ourselves up for those final few laps. We can't forget about the battle for P number 3 in GTE though, between Casubon, Castroledo and Joshua Anderson as well, all stacked up together. We've got the battle for the race lead in GT3 as well, Fripp versus Weber.
Yeah, we're looking at Fripp right now, and he's a half a second ahead of Weber as they work themselves through that right-hander. And actually, we'll say as well that Weber has done a fantastic job of the last few laps. 1 second he has gained over the Dakota Fripp in that GT3 battle for the race lead as he comes past the line.
Yep, really pulling in the hard yards is the driver of the number 15, but right now a GTE machine does split them. That GTE machine just so happens to be your leading GTE, Jack Sedgwick, driver of the number 4. Absolutely fantastic race for him so far in that NX Racing car, and he's only got a couple of minutes to go now before he can get himself towards the checkered flag, and of course taking the race win as well. It's just a case of making sure you don't hit those concrete walls anywhere on the circuit right now for him. That battle before the overall race lead right now, standing just under 0.5 of a second, dipper under 0.4 of a second, as Andre does have to sit in the draft. He's so amazing on the brakes, and Hart has made a mistake here. A little bit of a defensive block down in towards the right-hander keeps an Eric Andre behind as he grazes the wall through the first sector, through the left as well, and up through the right just before the back straight here at Belle Isle. Fantastic traction off the corner for Half means that opportunity isn't going to go the way of an Eric Andre for the succeeding right-hand turn. But oh, that battle is so spicy, and if it ends in tears, it's going to be tears between two teammates, and who knows how they will recover from that.
Well, the thing is as well, these are two teammates, and they have got a gap of what, 26 seconds between themselves and Mikel Cato in third place right now. So if I was the Race Clutch team, I'd say, come on guys, calm it down just a little bit. Mikel Cato in that number 27 machine, you just see heading through the right-hander right now, and has not been a threat at all. I say that he almost loses traction as he heads himself through turn number 9. But in my opinion, right now, Eric Andre and Half, why are they fighting for position? Because as a team, they're going to get more points, and yes, of course, drivers will get more points, more safety rating, etc., etc. But I don't see the point. These two drivers have been racing too hard here, Connery. I think they're going to wreck each other rather than getting a 1-2.
In terms of the spectators, though, I think they've just been racing just fine here as they had their way through the first sector once again. Eric Andre absolutely locked onto the back of his teammate on the run down this back straight, and he might have an opportunity, you know, coming down in towards turn number 8. Around the outside, he'll have to attempt cutback move, or at least looking for it off the corner, but the thing is, that'll turn for the outside. Up through the left, Andre just harassing the back of Hearth in the dying moments of this race. We're on the penultimate lap here, so the next lap will be the white flag lap, and the last chance for an Eric Andre to try and get himself a race win here. And oh my god, this one's gonna really come to a head on that final lap if Andre senses an opportunity anywhere out there on circuit. We'll cross the line with about 1 minute 10 seconds to go. This is going to be the white flag lap, final lap for this battle for the race lead, and who's it going to be? I honestly do not know at this point. It doesn't look like there's going to be any traffic getting itself involved. The traffic that's the closest down the road right now is Tammy Ackley and Castroledo heading their way through turn number 4, so they might be a factor right in the last couple of corners of this race. We've got to look at the battle for P number 3 in GTE as well. That's Casubon versus Anderson versus Castroledo, and there's been a little bit of a shake-up here. So right now, Casubon 3rd, Anderson 4th, Ricardo Castroledo 5th, and Tammy Ackley 6th right now as they had a little bit of a moment coming through the first sector, but all eyes on this battle for the overall race lead right now. And Eric Andre simply isn't close enough at the end of this back straight, so he needs an absolutely monstrous middle sector if he's going to have a chance over his teammate here. Getting that car slowed down through the left, pick things up for the medium speed double left coming through towards the end of the lap right now, and I don't think Andre has anything left in the metaphorical tank to be able to do anything about Johan Harth at the front of this field unless Harth makes a mistake. But through the final corners, and Johan Harth will get himself towards the finish line. What a defense from the race class driver of Johan Harth, defending his teammate all the way to the line. That is a very, very, very well-deserved win for Harth. Having a look back then to your battle for GTE, just having a look at your runners coming towards the end of the race, your race leaders. Cedric's actually getting his way onto the back straight right now, so he'll be the likely winner in your GTE machines. But things aren't solved right now for P number 4 and back in GTE. Anderson versus Ledo versus Ackley. Ledo versus Ackley is particularly close as they get stacked up behind the GT3 machine. So up towards the end of the back straight they will come then, and it looks like Ackley's not quite going to be close enough to challenge that Virasco and Sim Sports car right now. But having a look back then, Dakota Fripp is actually behind this battle, so he'll be the final runner to head his way across the line. Jack Cedric then out the final corner. Fantastically run race from the Unix Racing team as Cedric will head his way across the line then for the win in GTE. And then we just have to wait a couple of more moments then for the driver of the number 3, Dakota Fripp, will take the race win over Philip Weber in GT3 as well. Fantastic finish there in the dying couple of laps there, Will.
Yeah, indeed. So, and I've got to give credit to all the drivers here that got themselves podium finishes, because this track here, Connery, is far harder than anyone thinks to get themselves not even a win, not even a podium. Getting themselves to finish here is hard. And well, the battle that was going on in terms of your prototype field with Johan Harth and Eric Andre, that was spectacular. But also in GTE and GT3, the gaps were close as well.
Very, very close. More overtaking than we expected here at Belle Isle, and we are very, very, very thankful for it. Here is your official race results. Johan Harth will take the race win in your Daytona prototypes when all is said and done. 0.3 of a second separate himself and his teammate of Eric Andre. Michael Cado will have a very quiet race and come home on the final step of the podium after qualifying in the same spot. Our very own David Haynes will do the same as well. P number 4 after starting on the 4th grid spot. Benjamin Morton, P number 5, and then you have your retirees in that field. Zachary LeVay and Alessandro Dolidone. Cycling things back then to your GTE field that provided the excitement early on. Jack Cedric comes away with the race win with a good couple of second gap over Pierre Lesson. Theobald Cazubon will take P number 3 right at the dying moments. We've got Joshua Anderson, Ricardo Castro Ledo bringing things down to P number 5. P number 6, Tammy Ackley. P number 7, Bruno Fontalba. And then further down, we've got Gerard Coroni, Tony Reprizard, and then your unfortunate retirees in the GTE class, Philippe Paiva and Michele Ricci. Then you've got to look all the way down at your GT3 field. Dakota Fripp taking the race win over Philip Weber, with Lawrence Van Oort taking the final step off the podium in that field. CM Skinner will miss out in P number 4. P number 5, Andrew Wilson. P number 6, Christian Haas. P number 7, Steve Lavalle. And P number 8 will be grabbed by Wim Stockmans. P number 9, Valentin Kirsch. Carlos Oliver Pascual will round out the top 10 in the GT3 field. And James McRitchie, the only retiree in GT3.
And that's your field, Connery.
That is our field. And should we take a commercial break, or should we go in straight in with an interview with the only David Haynes?
Go to the Haynes.
Let's go. Let's go, David. How was it out there today?
Really good fun, but also really, really tough.
That is very Finnish answer that you just gave. So I'm just gonna prod you a little bit more in that sort of situation. We saw a lot of prototype drivers actually stay out and run the tank dry. And Eric Andre, one of your competitors for the race win, actually decided to go for the early pit stop. And are both strategies that you were thinking about today, or were you just committed to going long?
Yeah, I was absolutely in two minds about that, you know, with the pace difference between the cars and how difficult it is to get past traffic. It absolutely does make sense to come in for your pit stop right as you start catching the GT3 field, but I wasn't sure and I didn't have anyone to help me with where I would come out if I did take my pit stop then, so I just did the relatively safe but maybe not the fastest thing. I just stayed out as long as I could. It kind of worked in my favour because once I got to 2 laps out from my pit stop, my live timing changed to say we were going to go 1 lap less, so I was probably able to take quite a bit less fuel than Mikhail, who I was fighting for P3.
In terms of the racetrack, how difficult was it out there to deal with the lap traffic? Because we saw the battle for the prototype race lead was largely judged on how the traffic fell. How difficult was it to get past some of the GT cars out here today?
Really tough because we don't have enough of the long straights where the Daytona Prototype can stretch out its legs and its bigger engine. It's really not that much quicker than some of the GT cars through the corners, just because it's that kind of older technology. So there's a few times coming through the fountain section or through the tight bit after turn 3 where I was like, oh, I could force this issue, but I will just wait, even if it's going to cost me maybe a second or so.
Sometimes patience is indeed a virtue. And before we let you go, David, is there anyone you want to thank? And if you don't say Race Spot, you're fired.
I'd like to thank V8s Online. It's always great broadcasting with them. I'd like to thank HJBC. There's really good guys, and we're putting together our own broadcasts of Reddit iRacing League, of the Champ Car Endurance Series, and also our own Bottom Split Theatre. Team Huge Ass, great group of guys. Of course, our main sponsor, Dickens Cider, and it's always a pleasure to be here on Race Spot.
Not quite fired. I'll just give you a little bit of a slack there.
To be fair.
Well, of course. But David, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you very much for taking part in this race as well. And Will, I am very, very thankful that we got an absolutely brilliant finish there between those two teammates, racing so hard, but racing so clean as well.
Great race, great, and that's what sums up the IMSA Online Sports Car Championship as well. It is close, hard racing, Connery.
Close, hard racing is all we ask for. Is actually, before we go, we will have another interview. This time, we're going to have Dakota Fripp, who's actually waiting in the wrong broadcast booth. So hopefully, we'll be able to drag him across up into this one and take it away, Will, with your GT3 race winner.
Dakota Fripp, you get yourself victory in terms of GT3. Talk us through your race.
It was pretty good. Not really. It's just trying to stay out of the wall. I mean, midway through, I actually did grab the wall a little bit, but yeah, it was just with I think it was Philip right behind me the whole time, so it was pretty fun.
How hard is it racing at a racetrack like Belle compared to a normal kind of like track with gravel traps, etc.?
Yeah, definitely harder. I mean, just because if you ever make any sort of mistake, you're gonna end up in the wall pretty quickly. So you're definitely driving a little bit not quite as 100% that you would drive on like another track that doesn't have the walls right next to it like that.
In terms of the championship so far, how's it been for you? And what do you think is going to be the rest of the championship? Because it seems to be upping in terms of the ante.
Oh, yeah, I don't know anything about the championship. I just came in just for this race, just to try it out. So I wish luck to the other guys who are fighting for a championship.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, Dakota Fripp, Connery, back to you.
Thank you very much, Will, and I think that is about all that we have time for here on the IMSA Online Sports Car Championship here, powered by iRacing on the iRacing Esports Network and on RaceSpot TV as well. I've been Connery Maddock, that has been Will Vincent, and join us for the next round because you do not want to miss racing like this.